I think we're live.
Woohoo.
I hope so.
Probably.
Are our mics live?
Yes, they are. I checked.
Yeah, there we go. We're on it today.
Oh,
like that,
man, kind of. Hello and welcome, heroes, to the Crit Academy. I am your host, Justin.
I'm your co-host, Austin.
And your co-host, Ian.
This podcast was created to provide you, our heroes, with new and reusable material for both players and DMs.
We hope to inspire you with creative content that you can bring with you on your next adventure.
Our show may not be suitable for young children, but neither is our D&D games.
Nope.
No.
I'm very bad. I actually just had our patron game. We do a monthly extra credit patron game, and I've had to not stream the last couple episodes because of the nature of what's going on and the nature of the module I'm running.
Oh, of course.
So it's just like, so I was talking to one of our patrons. She's like, "That's awfully sensitive of you," and I'm like, "Yeah, it is." And I'm
Until
like,
I say it out loud to my players.
I'm just like,
Sensitive to
yeah.
a point.
I'm still a dickhead most of the time, but oh man, I am really excited for today's episode, you guys. But before we get into rules of storytelling or rules for storytelling by Pixar, which is an awesome source for storytelling, one of the biggest animation companies in the world, right? Everyone knows Pixar, right?
I would assume by this point. Yeah.
Right. I would like to take a minute to let everyone know that our Kickstarter is live and is still running as of today, August 16th, 2020. And we are at 77% of our goal with a couple weeks left to go. I'm super excited.
Steadily getting there.
Yeah.
I think we got this.
Yeah, I hope so. Several of the mentors that have been, walking me through the process and everything really think that we're going to hit it. And I'm starting to really think that too. So thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
If you don't know, our Kickstarter is Memorable Monsters. In my games, I truly believe monsters are more than just stat blocks. So we've been pitching this Kickstarter idea for a while and finally pushed the button.
Mm-hmm.
The plan is to deliver 50 fully fleshed out NPCs and monsters, not just, a meat shield, but they've got flaws, backgrounds. They got a variety of ways that you can include them in your stories and campaigns. If it sounds like something you're interested in, head on over to the kickstarter.com/critacademy or go to critacademy.com and click on it. If you want to know more, we actually covered an episode where we covered one of the monsters in pretty good depth
I believe that was
recently.
2 weeks ago?
It was like
Maybe-
it was a
maybe more
goblin.
than that.
But look what you could do with that goblin when
I
you know
know.
stuff.
It was pretty great.
We had meant to do 2 that day, and we only did 1.
because there was so much time.
Yeah.
Which also is another benefit if you actually go to the Kickstarter.
Samples.
There's samples there that you can pick up as well. So
The first one's free.
it's like crack. Hopefully you'll come back for more.
Also, do note that these aren't just for D&D settings as well. You can probably mix some stuff up about them, and you can probably use them in any RPG tabletop adventure as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Very
The
big
only
thing to
thing that
point out.
makes it 5th edition is the stat block.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everything else is system agnostic. So which is also another selling point, I think. So it occurs to me now that maybe we could have did some stretch goals to add like Pathfinder stat blocks or something like that. But
Could have been interesting for sure.
hindsight, right?
Right.
But I want to thank everyone.
Already halfway through it, and we're like, oh, we could have done that.
Could have did this, that, and the other thing.
And here I'm going, but which Pathfinder edition?
Oh, well,
I mean, I know second's out now, but let's face it. First was out for a while, still has a very dedicated fan base.
that's
yeah.
true. So hopefully you'll check that out. Or if you're looking for some free fat loots, just head on over to our website at critacademy.com. We also have a little sign up for our newsletter, and it will send you a link and a link with 7 of our favorite D&D resources to use that are free. So check it out. Woohoo! That being said, I want to thank Crit Nation for joining us today here at Crit Academy Studios, where everything's made up and your rolls don't matter.
Yep, that's right. Your roles are like a D&D campaign without interesting storytelling, which
So
is
what
probably really
So a
easy
dungeon
to
crawl?
do.
A dungeon delve, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Very much.
I love those.
Some people,
I was
those...
gonna say, I'm still kind of in that boat where I'm like, I'm okay with a good old dungeon delve every once in a while.
But
well,
a good story does go a long way. Let's not
I'm
shortchange
glad
that.
you guys think that, because I really would like to do a book that's pure dungeon delves. With, 4th edition had a book called Dungeon Delves, and it basically gave a short paragraph of what's going on, who the bad guys, what their motives are, and then it's like 3 regular encounters to get that out of the way. So it was made great one-shots. Not
It'd
as
be kinda
much.
fun to do.
Yeah, it's really cool. So that's something I would like to look into in the future. So.
Could be fun. I'm in
I-
it.
So moving on to our Let's Talk About Blank segment. Every week there's always new D&D news coming out, or we get questions submitted from listeners, and always something unique we want to talk about, kind of in the vein of what's happening. So Chris Perkins tweeted, Icewind Dale, Rime of Frost Maiden is a fully of terrifying secrets, some of which lie buried under ice and snow. And he put a picture of this city, this round, flat, circular city with this tweet. Now, you can find it at critacademy.com/post/episode 183 and see this image for yourself.
With a tall spire in the middle, too.
Yes. I'm going to be honest. To me, this doesn't look like a picture that belongs in a fantasy realm. It looks like a picture that belongs in
Like
a sci-fi
almost?
setting.
Yeah, I was like, this looks alien more
Yes,
than anything. It looks weird.
And really, that's really what caught my eye. Is this stood out? If this is content in the upcoming release,
Yep.
to me this suggests that either we're getting details more on the Githyanki, or the Githzerai, or the Mind Flayers, or any other astral plane, sci-fi-ish, Spelljammer type stuff.
It actually reminded me a lot of like Atlantis from the Stargate franchise.
Yes, it does. I can see that. That is, you hit that spot on. That's pretty good.
Almost looks like this used to fly at some point.
Maybe.
Just because of the way it's like landed in there.
It's kind of like a lead.
It's all
Yeah.
cockeyed in there.
Yeah.
Almost if it wasn't there by default. Like maybe it fell there.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Maybe it's a big giant ship,
That's
like
what
the
I'm
ones from
leaning
Independence
towards.
Day.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm leaning towards.
Because it's hard
It
to get
looks-
an idea of the sense of the size of this thing. But I'm really excited
Yeah,
for this.
true.
Because this means they're delving back. And honestly, it kind of makes sense. I'm not saying I'm right, but with Baldur's Gate 3's focus being on Mind Flayers and Githyanki, it would make sense for them to jump into that next, that direction.
That almost looks like a sort of like hologram kind of thing in the middle
The
of
little
it.
orange thing?
Yeah.
I can see that.
It doesn't-
Some sort of power source maybe too.
Yeah, it looks like it just kind of floats there.
Yeah, so this is really
Very
cool.
cool.
This is very futuristic-y, alien type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited. This obviously is, I would assume, is from the book that's coming out.
Yeah.
But I'm really. Do you guys have any other comments on this other than I'm super excited?
I am curious to see where it's going to go.
Yeah, me too, and how it ties into the Frostmaiden stuff. Because to me, this is a great piece of content. Because if you think about it, the movie, the Transformers movie, you know, they found Megatron. And spoiler alert for an old ass movie. They found
Right.
Megatron frozen in the ice. What if this is something similar? What if it doesn't lead to Spelljammer, but leads to like other alien tech, or the introduction of just like new science and technology and stuff?
Almost sounds like it could like almost transverse into like an Eberron campaign, like Eberron Light.
Ooh, that would be cool.
So like you have like this almost like pseudo technology that's in like the Forgotten Realms, but like it's just barely enough where it's like believable.
Yeah, that's really, really great. I
Or
like that.
Interesting.
who said the city's dead? Or completely dead.
Yeah, there might be creatures there. I guess we don't know. It's just an image. So,
Right.
but I was really impressed with this. I'm really excited. Chris Perkins always puts out really good hooks
I
out there.
guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you. Gotcha, bitch.
Very interesting.
I think that'll do it for our Let's Talk About Blank segment.
Cool.
I'm really excited for this. I really want to make sure I get this book as soon as possible. Rime of the Frost Maiden. So, did anybody know the release date by chance?
No, I'm not sure.
So, before we move on to our Unearthed tips and tricks, we have a product to give away. I would actually
September
like
15th.
it's September 5th. That's soon. That's really soon. That's a month away.
Yeah, it's not far at all.
I want to give a huge shout out again to Chris van der Linden from Mooresmith. Not only does the guy make amazing content, but man, has he been such a great mentor in my entire journey through the creative process, through just regular writing up through the Kickstarter, and he's really had our back. So, dude, thank you. You are awesome. Because of people like you and Jeff Stevens and JVC Perry, we really have come a long way. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Yep.
And he gives away stuff to you guys.
Yeah, like the modular dungeon tiles, the Arcania set. And if you aren't already aware, the modular dungeon tiles are an easy way to create your own beautiful digital maps. The Arcania set in specific lets you make dark, shadowy dungeon maps rich with the fumes of arcane secrets. Very much so like this picture that we've been kind of staring at almost, honestly.
Right.
So yeah, our winner today is Riley5150.
Woo!
Congratulations.
Congratulations!
Yeah.
Yay!
Hopefully he can pick up the mic.
Yeah, this is just getting easier than just trying to play a bunch of audio clips.
Honestly.
Congratulations. If you enjoy the product, please consider picking up Loresmith's other content. His remarkable inns and remarkable shops are some of the best system agnostic content you're ever going to find. It fits in every single person's...
You can put it in a starship. You can put it in a home. You can put it in a hotel. You can put it in modern times.
You can put it in the box with a box.
Yes. I wonder where that goes. So I just shared something. Can somebody tell me which post that goes to, if any? Did that show up in Twitter or Twitch?
No, it shows up on our website.
Oh, well, that's no good. Because there's a check mark. It shows failed Facebook, went to YouTube, went to... I don't know. I envisioned that typing through the restream thing would actually send it to all those, but it doesn't look like it did, so...
Went on
sucks.
Twitch
It did? Okay.
and
Well,
YouTube.
Okay, well, it's not all the places I wanted to go. But, all right, well, congratulations. We hope you enjoy it. If you didn't win, have no fear. Head on over to critacademy.com/Loresmith, and we got some free goodies for you. Digital terrain, some one-shots, all that good stuff. Now, on to the main topic, the meat of the podcast sandwich, if you will. Pixar's 22 Rules of Storytelling. Now...
22, God.
Yeah. Now, I didn't know this. I first saw this as like a meme somebody put up. It basically, I'd say meme, but it was just a post of an 8x11 image with all these things chalked on it. I was not aware that this was actually a full book that has been written. So you can actually find that link in our show notes as well. I wish I would have known that because I would have tried to get my hands on the whole book, but that's okay. Hopefully...
We have 22 points in my work.
Yeah, this actually comprises what it or compiles what it focuses anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to each read it. Maybe we'll just toss a few discussion points on each point and see where this goes. The reason I like this is because Pixar is a subsidiary of Disney, one of the largest corporations in the world that focuses around storytelling. If this is something that they're passing out to their employees when they write, that says a lot about the value.
Right.
Hopefully this is a resource that will apply both to dungeon masters, game masters, and players as well. At least we hope. So,
I can agree to that.
number 1, admire characters for attempting more than what their successes have been. What does this mean to you guys?
Sounds like, if I wanted to put this in like a D&D context, we'll say. So if I'm imagining like a player character, previously they haven't been able to like, maybe they haven't been able to get to the big bad guy, but they're at least always pushing to get to the big bad guy, right? And I think the idea is that you should push the idea forward that they are actively attempting this, and so that way you can look at them and be like, oh wow, like they even though they haven't been able to get to where they want, they're still at least attempting like the grand goal that they're trying to get.
So even though they haven't reached a tier of success that they want, they're actively striving to continually get to it.
Because I'm assuming it has like, this is the idea of like a lot of like smaller goals that they may have been trying to get to that giant, the big goal, the end goal.
The top of the mountain.
Exactly. And it's even though they may have like slipped maybe quite a few times, but they're still actively trying to get to the top of the mountain, essentially.
This reminded me of, I just shared a quote. I do that often. I'm sorry for everyone. I love Stormlight Archives and Brandon Sanderson's guide.
I just
got some
recommended
amazing
this book,
shit.
Yesterday, so
shit's good.
It is good.
He goes, it's somewhere along the lines of, if I fall... Shit, now I gotta find it because I don't want to misquote it. What do you think about this, why I find that?
Overall, I believe the point they're trying to make here is a character is not just what they are known for. There is more to that person than that.
I can agree with that. That's a good way to interpret
That's
that.
a good way to put
Like
that.
they have characteristics, they have likes, they have dislikes, they have a background, they have where they came from, they have the people around them. They
They're
have their
not-
qualities.
They're not just the successes that they have. They are more than... I can see that. I like that.
Going back to what you said about their not quite reaching their goals, The quote is, "I will take responsibility for what I have done. If I must fall, I will rise each time a better man." That to
That's a good
me
way to-
is
good way to put it,
is
too.
kind of what I envisioned when you mentioned that.
And Sav right here in chat says it creates empathy because we all know what it feels to live life. It makes them relatable.
Yeah,
can agree to that.
I like
Yep.
that. I think we got some good out of that. That's some really good points you guys made.
It's a good point one. Want to go on to point two?
Yep.
Okay. It says here, keep in mind what's interesting to you as an audience, not what's fun to do as a writer. They can be very different.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God,
This,
yes.
I think all of us can immediately say, yeah, like that is.
We
We
all
have-
have our own likes and interests.
Yeah, and
Yes.
we've heard the tales of the dungeon master who says, "It's my story, it's my world." If that's not interesting to the players, it doesn't matter how great and exciting your world is. And I think that happens too often. I don't necessarily know that it's a flaw, but I think it's a stepping stone to improving. If you don't recognize that you're doing that, though, you're going to be stuck on that, and you might be spend weeks or months or years in a campaign that only you care about and that the players don't.
And it's not like it's a malicious thing either, because
Right,
there's
for
a
sure.
very, like, the vast majority is the fact that they don't realize that they are doing this, right? They think that, you know, what they're doing is cool and that everyone's actively engaging into it, but obviously if they never venture out, all they're sitting in is just an echo chamber in themselves, and all they hear is, I'm doing a good job to themselves.
Right.
I think a great example I read about one time that illustrates this is like Chuck Lorre's like a producer over in Hollywood who's known for a lot of sitcoms, such as Big Bang Theory is one example.
Okay.
And the author of this article was talking about how he was involved with a sitcom pilot, and their test audience was watching, and all test audience members have a remote in their hands, if you will, where that basically means if I press a button, I'm bored, I'm changing the channel.
Okay.
Oh,
And
interesting.
and as they're watching the sitcoms are going through the scene, one of the writers said, "My favorite joke's coming up. Yeah, I love this joke too." The joke was told on screen, and nearly every single person in the audience hit the button.
Oh, jeez. That's got to hurt.
Yeah, that's rough.
So you can see why, like, that's what I thought of when I read this.
Yeah.
Just because you like something doesn't mean everyone's gonna like something.
And I think that's why it's important, session 0, and to continue asking the players what they're thinking of the campaign, what they like about it. Like at the end of most of my games, I always try to ask, what did you like about it? Because it makes it easier for me to try to focus on that when
Right.
I can. Now, once again, running modules makes that a little harder sometimes, but for the most part, I know what drives every player.
Right.
So,
That makes sense.
Ian, you want to tell us about number 3?
Trying for a theme is important. Whoever you won't see what the story is about. Wow, that seemed awkward.
Yeah.
Whoever you won't see what the story is about until you're at the end of the story. Got it? Now rewrite.
So it says if I'm understanding this, it's saying theme is important,
Yep.
and it should be carrying out through the entire story. That might be however.
Yeah.
I just copied this from a meme, so it says however you won't see. However, you won't see what the story is about until you're at the end of the story. Got it? Now rewrite it.
Yeah.
So to me, that says that whatever theme you choose should stick through the entire end of it, and then
I think that's the idea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I definitely seen in some stories or books, what have you, that introduce a plot twist, which was so out of left field. I'm like, what?
like why did they do that? They didn't stick with what they had going for them, basically.
Okay. I'm probably gonna piss off a few people by mentioning this, but I think all three of us at least have seen Goblin Slayer.
I've seen some
A
of it,
little
yes.
bit, yeah.
Yep. Like I remember, like the first episode, there was a scene in there that that pissed off a lot of people. Now I believe that people hated it just because it came out of nowhere. You'd be like, "Oh my gosh, why would you do such a thing?" And me, however, I'm like, "I love this." Not because, and don't get me wrong, the scene was horrible, but to me, it heavily implied a grim, dark setting or a series,
Which is what it was going for.
Yes.
which is what I love because you don't see those too much, and I can appreciate those. But then every episode afterward was standard action fantasy series. I'm like, I was given a setting and a setup in the first episode. We saw nothing of that
And
afterwards.
so that's a really good example of not sticking with the theme from beginning to end.
And I think that's why people like Berserk in specific a lot
Yes.
more, is because it does stick to that. Like this is an awful world.
Yeah.
And this dude's trying to live his life, and it's not working.
Right.
Oh yeah, Guts' life sucks.
It isn't pretty from day one to day end.
like Lily, even the day he was born completely sucked for him.
Yeah. So
I'll just leave it at that.
right. So number 4 here is, I think this is cool because this reminds me of like almost an outline of how your story should go. Once upon a time there was blank. Every day blank. One day blank. Because of that blank. Because of that blank. And until finally blank. So I feel like you could toss any subject into this and have a story come out of it. So once upon a time there was
A goat.
a goat. Every day that goat ate grain. One day
He ate cheese.
he ate cheese. And because of that, he learned he liked it better than grain.
Grain,
And
yeah.
then he realized what. Until finally he realized, what else am I missing in life?
Oh, I like what you did there. Yes. To me, this is like an idea for an outline, and basically everything goes back to the previous event, and now you have like a system, a stepping stone to the end, right? And that basically is a good way for any sort of NPC building.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm going to use the Batman villain Arnold Schwarzenegger when he played
Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze, where
Yeah.
he says, "Once upon a time there was a doctor. Every day he helped people. One day his wife died. And because of that, he changed his focus on curing her. But because of that, he had to become a villain because he didn't have enough money. Because of that, he ran out of money until finally he had to steal it and become a villain." I mean, because that's really his whole story.
That is pretty much it,
Yeah.
yeah. It really is. Down at the bone,
Yeah,
to the bare bones, that is pretty much it, yeah.
right.
Interesting. I like that. Next one?
Yep.
Sure. Simplify, focus, combine characters, hop over detours. You'll feel like you're losing valuable stuff, but it sets you free.
What do you guys think this means?
Refine the process.
Okay.
Throw out the fat. Throw out the stuff you don't need. And one great example I can think of about this actually is a few weeks back we mentioned the movie Upgrade,
Okay.
which is a
I do
sci-fi
like-
cyberpunk movie.
Oh.
And it was a very low budget movie, like $3 million, something along those lines. 3-5 million, which is in Hollywood chump change for making a movie.
Right.
Right.
But in exchange, the producer could do anything he wanted for the movie. But that low budget made him go back to the script. Okay, don't need that. That action scene, I guess that doesn't actually add to the plot.
So he got rid of the garbage out of it.
And right, and it also made him rethink a few things or how things were going to look visually too. And
Right.
he's like, but as a result, it created a more grounded product that seemed more believable.
Yeah.
I think this happens a lot with players and dungeon masters because there's some players who will write this very long character arc for their stories and not leave any room for the DM to play around in. And more importantly, less likely to remember because there's so much, going on
Right.
there. DMs create all this entire world and all these settings. They flush out all these cities, but really the entire campaign takes place in this one area.
Yep.
So all that time was while that could have been done with bullet points. You know what I mean? And I really feel like that's what it's talking about here. Ian?
Sorry, I'm talking with chat.
Okay, I'll take the next one then. What is your character good at or comfortable with? Throw the polar opposite at him. Challenge him. How does he deal with it?
This is a very important thing, and I see it happen a lot honestly in a lot of fiction that I read, where the main character is constantly, like, it is very obvious what his strengths are. So, for instance, I'll go back to Brent Weeks in this Night Angel trilogy. His strengths were that he worked very hard at what he did, and he ended up becoming, well, one of the world's greatest assassins at a kind of young age because he just kept going at it.
Good
That was his
series.
thing. And then the thing that he could never do, though, was actually written on every single front cover of the book. There was always like a line that said like a perfect assassin has no friends or a perfect assassin has no identity and stuff like that. He very, very clearly wanted to keep all of his friends and wanted to keep this life that he had. So every single time, and it's brought up time and time again throughout this book, where he's constantly having to do these things that as an assassin, this wouldn't really be an issue, right? But because he's more than that, he's a person. He is a person who had survived very awful things. He wants to keep whatever friendships he has around because that's inevitably what makes him human.
And now, because of that, doesn't he run into a lot of challenges because he chooses to give
Yes.
those up?
And to the point where actually more people usually die, and sometimes the friend still dies anyway because he actually struggled for too long and he couldn't make the decision fast enough, and he ended up losing both things anyway, which is a
That
very,
sucks.
very powerful thing.
Yeah, there's a series I read that's really, really good. I'm not going to say which one because it's a huge spoiler. But in it, these heroes, they're out there protecting people. That's their whole shtick. They're there to protect and save people in the world and defend it from these monster sorts of things until they find out that, in fact, it's not their home. They're aliens that came to this planet
Oh, jeez.
and took it from the people they deem monsters. And so all those people give up their power and abandon their responsibility because they believe they don't have it's not their responsibility. They conquered this land,
Jeez.
which is great. So,
Which opens up a lot of questions too.
Yes.
We go from there.
yeah, that's really good. Do you want to take the number 7, Ian?
Number 7. Come up with your ending before you figure it out. Come up with your ending before you figure out your middle. Seriously, endings are hard.
Yes.
Get yours working up front.
That is again, a very big thing. I used to write a lot back in high school, like hundreds of pages, to the point where I probably could have, if I had refined it and maybe actually got like an editor and stuff, I probably could have made something out of it, but I didn't. The ending was always the thing that I struggled with. It's how do you end a journey? You know, this thing that you're always constantly building up for, and you want this, this big, satisfying conclusion. How do you present it? Like, how does it feel satisfying enough when you've gone through hundreds of pages worth of stuff? You know what I mean? And how do you summarize that in like a chapter?
And also, it can also be hard to get it to go where you want. That's one of the things that I struggle with as
That's a big thing,
game
too.
master is I'm not super great at connecting all the action that the players have done into the story that I want. I wonder if I start at the end with the goal, then it doesn't matter what they do because I can, in theory, let them make whatever choices and then reroute the story and the actions based on the characters that takes them there. Instead, I'm always wondering, okay, how do I want this to end? Here's all the stuff they've done. If I just say this is what's going to happen, it doesn't. Well, see, now I kind of feel bad because then that's taking away any impact the players do. So I feel like there's got to be a balance there for at least RPGs.
Like, I remember I took a creative writing class back in college, and kind of in a similar vein, I remember one short story I wrote in particular when I shared like the early drafts with some classmates and a few friends. Everybody's like, "This seems really cool. I'm curious where this is gonna go," and I'm sitting going, "Me too."
Yeah. Like,
And that's something I still, even now, and I'm sure you know this, struggle with to this day, because I feel like I do a good job of coming up with a great generalized idea of something. I just have never any idea how to flesh it out or where to take it.
Yeah.
the big issue I think a lot of writers probably run into is where they want to take it. I always feel like people generally have this idea, right? These maybe even just like a bunch of core concepts that flesh out this idea, but where do you take this bubble that you've made, right? How
Right.
do you expand it into something more concrete? And I think that is definitely the issue. So I agree with this. Definitely get the ending done, because honestly, you can always fill stuff in the middle,
Yeah.
and you can always reroute everything, kind of like an electrician. You can always rewire it back to the end.
Which actually is a nice segue right into the next question there, Austin.
What does it say here?
Number 8.
Number 8, okay. Finish your story. Let go, even if it's not perfect. In an ideal world, you have both, but move on. Do better next time. That's fair.
I kind of get that too, just from the
Yeah.
standpoint of how many creators have you seen just become so fixated on something they just won't leave something alone and keep changing stuff around, but as a result, they're probably making it worse in the process.
Yeah.
That or how much time has been lost on other potential better projects
Yes.
that could push. I'm guilty of that in my writing. There's a few times where I went and did something else without finishing something else, so it took me longer to finish that project because I gotta, let's go do this instead before I forget, So finish your story no matter how bad it is. If you don't like it, okay, what don't you like about it? Fix that in the next one.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Which is why I think it might be easier just to do like simple short stories or even just like simple character arcs. Like, even if you just remove the your story aspect, say like finish your character, like let go of it even if it's not perfect,
Yeah.
because like
I agree.
characters aren't perfect, they're not meant to be, and
That's what
neither
makes
should
them
the story
amazing.
be.
That's why flaws are so great.
Yeah.
Watching people overcome their flaws is one of the greatest parts of stories, in my opinion.
That made me think of a book series, The Black Company, where the author talked about how he lost count how many times he turned in a draft to an editor, only for the editor to come back, hey, this is not proper grammar. Dude, it's written from the first-person perspective of a guy who's not educated. It's not going to be proper grammar.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
I'm on that road trip. Actually, Alicia was just telling me you're not allowed to publish anything without going through an editor, because I'm horrible. It really is bad. So I have to pay people now. I mean, I already was, but there's a few of them where I didn't, and it's obvious. All right, Ian, would you like to take number 9 there?
When you're stuck, make a list of what wouldn't happen next. More often than not, the material that gets you unstuck appears.
Yes, I actually utilized this after reading it because I was stuck on a part of an adventure I was developing, and it really, it does help. I've only used it once, but it worked. I started chucking off the stuff. I got it to about 6 things before I realized I know, and that's when I ended up finished with it. So I can say it works really well.
There's also another thing that I've heard. I forgot which author it was. I know it was a female author who did Sherilyn Kenyon, maybe. She, or at least one of the female authors out there, said that there comes to a certain point where the characters will honestly dictate the story for you, and all you have to do is just fill it in.
Yes.
And that is, if you always keep in mind what are the characters doing at this point in time, you'll probably end up finding an answer soon enough about what's going to happen next.
And it's funny you mentioned that because I feel like it was recently after a game I told you guys I wanted to try to run a stream where we just improv the whole game. Story, NPCs, everything. Was that recent or was that a while ago? I don't remember.
I feel like it was recent.
I know the RPG Dungeon World highly encourages people to not prep ahead of time and just springboard up in there.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds awesome. We're going to have to try that. So, number 10 here is pull apart the stories you like. What do you like about them? This is what you like in them is part of you. Recognize it before you use it, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I always encourage this. I steal stories and ideas from books, movies, cartoons, any theme.
Source of media.
Memes
are always good.
Memes.
I'm sure you've seen it on our show before where I took a meme and made it a tip in some way, shape, or form. Because you can take inspiration from anything, especially character concepts. Now, I know there's some douchebag game masters out there who say, I don't want anybody playing a character that exists in another world. Motherfucker, if he wants to play Corito or wants to play a Superman, let him.
A great example I can think of that is a guy I used to play with was setting up a game of music masterminds, a superhero RPG. And he's like, I don't want any animated characters. I don't want any video game characters. I don't want any fantasy characters. And he just went down a list. And I afterwards with a group of friends going, okay, so I make a character who's a robot that copies the abilities of other people. Am I a Mazo? Am I a Mega Man? Am I...
Yeah, I don't know.
None of those.
So I was like, that is a dumb statement because...
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in fact, there can be wrong ways to play.
Oh, yeah. Or GM.
Yeah, right.
One thing that I do like about this as well is when it does say like pull apart the stories you do like, there are a lot of like there was a what's the game called? It's called Hello Charlotte. It's pretty underground.
Is that the one with the blonde-headed is it got like cell shaded? No, I must be thinking of something else. I saw this thing with like Charlotte and sorry, go ahead.
So
continue.
Hello Charlotte is based on at first it was a big meme. The first game, it's a part of a trilogy, and it's fairly short throughout all of them. It's pretty much just like meme the game. It's about basically a giant parody on all of like classic horror themes. So like one time they'll like open up a door and like they're in like this like crazy like otherworldly dimension and like they open the door and it's like, oh well, nothing happened, and next thing you know the character next door gets shot in the head and then time reverses. It's real weird,
That's really cool.
but it's awesome. Now, what's really cool about that is in the second game and the third game, the creator decided to expand on this universe that she had created and didn't realize they were making, which is hilarious. So they ended up creating this weird like multiverse theory accidentally inside their game because there was this person who looked like them and it was meant to be just kind of like this weird jokey kind of thing, and that she realized that she was in like this like weird like meat world. It was so bizarre. This is such a bizarre game. I highly recommend it to anybody. And she ended up creating this these concepts where this person that the protagonist is, and that the player is actively playing, is technically a god of this world because the player dictates some of the actions that this person can do, even though this person has their own personality and set of traits. And so there's like an ending in this game where she ends up getting so mad about everything, about all the choices that you and the player have done, that she ends up devouring everything. Like everything gets consumed into this little ball and she creates a whole new reality, and then it starts the entire universe over again. She is the god of the universe. So
That's
it's
interesting.
this really weird set of rules that's just like, it all kind of makes sense in this weird way because there's no way to refute it. She did, in fact, create this timeline that you are a part of.
Isn't it weird that the first thing I thought when you said all that was Madoka Magica?
Yeah.
That's some trippy shit.
It's good.
I remember when I went and seen that when we were at a convention, and I'm like, oh, not another magical girl. Damn, that chick just got her head blown off.
Yeah, like Madoka Magic is wild. I love it.
I actually remember when I was dating my ex, she's like, I love Sailor Moon. Let me show you this one series you may or may not like. First couple episodes, this is really good. Episode 4, what the heck did you just show me?
Yeah,
That was one of the.
Keep going.
That was one of the few animes where once I watched it and I started knowing what was going on, I really wanted to. I binged it because I wanted to know.
Yeah, it's
what
really
the hell.
good.
Anyways,
Yeah.
we're derailing again because
Yeah.
we do that. I don't even know who's got the next
I
one.
think I'm
okay,
next.
you're number 12.
Actually, I think I got the next one.
11.
It's been a while since that's like.
Okay. Well, okay.
Yeah, go
you
ahead,
can
yeah.
Go, whatever,
11.
it doesn't matter.
Why must you sell this toy in... Is this story or toy? It
I'm
says
assuming
toy, but I feel like the story's supposed to be...
I don't know. I copied it from somebody else and I can't proofread
I'm
it,
not-
so go with story.
Okay.
Yeah, go a story.
Why must you tell the story in particular? What is the belief burning within you that your story feeds off of? That's the heart of it.
Interesting.
This is really good because I think this is going to be different for every single person. For me in particular, when I want to tell a story, I want to put a moral, ambiguous. You don't have to wear the headset.
No, that's fine.
Are you sure? Because we're not.
No, that's fine.
Are you sure?
I like hearing and getting
Yourself?
the feedback.
Do you want to
of
wear a
myself.
better headset?
That's fine.
I got your headset. It's in the house.
Nah, it's fine.
I'm just using it
It's
indefinitely.
it's okay.
All right. Shit. So I like this a lot because I like moral ambiguity. So for me, this question is, why do I want to tell this story? Because I want to know how a character is going to handle this decision. How is it going to affect not just the character, but sometimes the players? I've had a few that get kind of emotional over some decisions that I've put in front of them.
I believe this question is, of course, asking, why do you care? Why would anybody else care?
I don't think it has to be why would anyone else care. It's just why do you care so
Yeah,
much
it
that
says
you have
why
to write
would-
that.
must you
but
tell
I'm
it.
kind of tying that into earlier
Another
questions.
question, which is about with the
Yeah.
audience. God dang it. That's too complex for me. My brain hurts.
And for me, because like for me the story isn't I guess the desire for me to be telling a story isn't necessarily like, I don't know. I like the idea that I just want to create this like weird entertaining world that people can always have questions like, why does this exist in this certain place? And yet if you just kind of like look in these like weird like context clues, maybe you'll find it, maybe not.
Right.
Maybe it's just this mystery that you just have to speculate on. And maybe it's like, I don't know, maybe it was magic. I guess it was magic as far as I could tell. It's cool.
It works.
And that's kind of like the idea.
Very cool.
Nothing beyond that.
Number 12 is discount the first thing that comes to mind, and the second, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. I like this because basically those are obvious things that other people have done, and I agree with this. And sometimes the token cliche idea is fine. But when you want to really come up with something unique and tell a really great story, doing something that hasn't been done is probably a better solution.
I do feel like, though, I would treat this one, for me personally, more of as a guideline than a rule, per se.
I would agree.
Just from the standpoint of sometimes you do come up with a really good idea first thing.
Right.
And sometimes you might also say, like, okay, yes, this is done a lot, or yes, it's really tropey, but sometimes if you do it a really good job of it, or do it in a way that's different enough or well executed enough, people still might appreciate it.
Yeah, like why reinvent the wheel kind of
Right,
thing.
right.
And
Yeah.
sometimes tropes keep popping up because
They are good.
or people like those.
Yeah.
Want to pick up the next one?
Sure.
Austin?
Give your characters opinions. A character being passive or malleable is easy for you as a writer, but it's poison to your audience. Now, I think we can all kind of agree to that. I'm sure we've seen like protagonists in video games, honestly, where even though you're like actively controlling this character, it doesn't feel like they have any impact at all, and that's kind of a big thing. Most notably that I can think of immediately is in like any of the newer Fire Emblem titles where the protagonist is kind of like they kind of play a hand in the story, but really they don't matter.
It's
They're
everyone
just kind of a
around them.
plot device. Yeah.
Or a great example of that is actually the first Bioshock game. Like, I'm not going to give it away the huge plot twist that happens in the middle, but up to a point, you believe that you're making all of your decisions, even though you're on the rails, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
But then they give a plot twist like, oh, so I was really being manipulated this whole time into doing this one thing.
And that
and it
makes
does it in a way like, I gotta buy that, actually. And then now kind of, it was kind of a commentary. of sorts,
Right,
too,
right.
But yeah.
but I think that works in specific because of the fact that you yourself aren't being passive per se, and you're not to your understanding, to the audience's understanding, they're not being made malleable. They actively feel like they have these decisions, right? It's almost like they assume they have that power until you pull the rug out from under them and they realize, nope, they do not. That's kind of the idea.
What I take away from this
And I
is
like
that it's referencing characters who have don't intergage with decisions or splits, or
Right.
they just kind of go with the story and they're
They're
there.
kind of just a body.
Yeah, but they don't do nothing and fill space. And I think that that's the worst kind of character ever. They're
That's-
boring and not exciting at all.
That's fair.
So, Ian, do you want to take number 14?
Number 14. What is the essence of your story? What's the most economical way of telling of it? If you know that, you can build up from there.
I think this goes back to one of the previous ones about what's the core of your story and trim out all the fat.
Yep.
I really do think that's
I
very
can-
similar to that.
Yeah.
Economical is them just trying to save money, it seems, or get rid of excess stuff that they don't need. And I think that that's a good one.
It sounds like it's just saying, like, again, like, what is the theme of your story almost? Yeah.
Stick with it.
Yeah.
If you were your character in this situation, how would you feel? Honesty lends credibility to unbelievable situations.
This is huge. Oh, man. This is if you're trying to write out this, like, because I want to believe that most humans, to some degree, have some form of empathy and have some altruistic views.
I wish.
Again, I want to hope, but it's that, like, honesty and that idea, like, so for instance, let's create a situation here. If you had to almost kind of like two people are gonna like fall off the cliff at the same time, you have to choose one kind of thing. Now, to the character, you have to put it in their eyes, right? So you have to put something that maybe one thing as a person you wouldn't know how to, or maybe as the character you don't really know how they would answer it, right? And I think that's kind of what they're trying to get at. But you, as the audience member in this case, because you're thinking in the eyes of the character, now you're the audience of this character, you have an idea of, honestly, I would probably choose this. And maybe that is a way for you to kind of gauge, like maybe the character would also think the same in that vein then, right?
Right.
Because then if you think this, is it really that far-fetched that they would also think this?
It's funny, and I don't know if you've seen the Hunter anime.
Yep.
But when they're taking the Hunter exam, one of it is you need to answer a question. And the question is, your lover and your mother are both dying in a fire. Only you
Something
can
like that,
only
yeah.
save one. Who do you save? And this is a question that they have like 5 seconds to answer.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of it, the one guy is still sitting there looking. He didn't answer because he's a young kid, and he's like, we're good. You don't have to answer. He's like, yeah, but what would I do in that situation? Like,
Right.
really, if it happened, it's theoretical now, but how do you decide? And I think that this really touches on the fact that you're giving credence to a decision that a character makes based on if it's something you think you could see being done. And it really brings him to life, I think.
I agree. That's what I was just gonna say. Like, it really kind of breathes more life into him, because you're
Right.
like, you know, no person would probably be able to answer that in about 5 seconds.
Right.
At least I would hope not. Maybe you need to
Ian,
fix some stuff.
you got
But
to take number 16.
Number 16. What are the stakes? Give us a reason to root for the character. What happens if he doesn't succeed? Stack the odds against him.
I like this. What do you think?
There needs to be something the character's working towards. And there has to be a chance for it to fail. If there's no chance for it to fail, then what's the point? Why are we caring?
Yeah, if there's no risk, like, and you've seen many movies where a volcano erupts and it's running towards a town, and so you got to do whatever you can to divert it, right?
yeah,
If there's no town, that becomes much less exciting,
yeah. Why divert it? Why not just let it hit the water?
right? So by putting a town there, now there's risk. If the character fails, they are going to, hundreds of people are going to die, and it's a high stakes because it's a effing volcano.
And now you might be thinking, well, why would I care about the town? Well, make them, and like the past hour ago before this was all happening, experience the town. What's nice about the town? Why? Maybe they met the mayor of that town, and maybe they got to be good friends with them, and now they're all, happy and buddy-buddy.
Or
Boblin the Goblin lives there.
Or if the place burns down or melts or whatever happens when, it's hit by lava, instead it turns out they choose not to help it because of being douches, and they find out something of significant value, somebody of super importance, an important contact, something that can help them was in there and is no longer available to them. That'll really suck. Oh, we chose not to help these people in distress. Oh, now we don't have that really dope-ass sword that will help us slay that dragon. Well, that's our fault. Now, we just lost 3 of our 5 guys fighting this dragon. Man, I wish I would have saved those people and got that sword. So
One big thing that I can actually, I can recall with this point, actually, is, again, another book. Because
should read more, people.
Yeah.
Reading is good.
If any of you have ever read A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab, one of the main characters binds his soul to his brother, and
That's
because
cool.
his brother was going to die, he was stabbed in the heart, and so he was like, "Holy shit! I want to save my brother. What can I do?" And so he's like one of the most powerful beings in the world, and he's like, "Why can't I heal my brother? Why is he not coming back to life?" It's because he was stabbed in the fucking heart. He's going to die. So he did something that was forbidden, and he didn't even realize he was doing it for some of the part. He didn't realize that he was doing this kind of very questionable thing with the magic, because the magic in that world is very living, and it does have almost a conscience of his own.
That's cool.
And he was like, oops, I just soulbound me to my brother. So now everything we feel, we kind of both feel together, and we kind of influence each other's actions and
Wasn't
stuff.
there a Cheech and Chong flick that was about that? Like you tickle one
Probably.
brother and the other one laughs.
Yeah. Very similar.
The first thing I thought about when we read this point was when Joss Whedon was talking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. When Buffy's having a good day, the show's good. When Buffy is suffering, the show's great.
That's funny. So what is the next one? 16?
17.
17.
No.
Yeah, go
Is
ahead.
that me?
I think it's you. I don't know.
No work is ever wasted, and if it's not working, let it go and move on. If it's useful, it'll show up again. As a
Yeah.
DM, I experience this often. There's a lot of things that I write, but I never use. And then I go back, I was like, I think I wrote something. Oh, that'd be great for this. And I can just toss it right into the campaign I'm going
Yep.
or running.
In a similar vein, I kind of always believe, I think it's okay for somebody in the group to suggest a bad idea, because then people realize that's a bad idea, don't do that. If that makes any sense at all.
It does.
Very simple point.
Yep, awesome.
Yeah. You have to know yourself and know the difference between doing your best and being fussy. Story is testing, not refining.
I like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, there can be a fine line between the two of those sometimes.
I feel like it's. I'm taking this as it's okay to write garbage.
Yeah.
Try something new. If it's
Mhm.
garbage, you won't use it again,
Yeah.
right? Instead of trying to, okay, this is garbage. How can I make it not garbage? Just write it as it is, and then if it's garbage, don't ever do that again. So that's kind of what I'm taking away from that.
Yep.
Right.
So,
I like this next point.
who's got that? Is that
I think that's Ian, yep.
Coincidences that get characters into trouble are great. Coincidences that get them out of it is cheating.
Yes.
A very good point that a lot of, I feel like, shows tend to do the second one where they're like, oh, but this happened, so now they're fine.
I would say with the
Great.
second point, I by and large agree, but it comes down to execution.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I like the odds of just random chance getting the characters into deep shit. Like that's why I like D&D, because the dice determines a lot of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They could walk across the ledge, no problem. You throw in a dice in there for a chance for them to fall on to their death, it all of a sudden becomes far more interesting. But if that ledge breaks and they happen to grab onto a vine that happens to be 10 feet below them, that's kind of cheating, right?
Yeah.
They could have taken any number of different ways to get around to where they were going. They chose this path, so. very
Right. It's a good one. You're next.
good. Am I? Okay.
Yep.
20. Exercise. Well, this excludes me. I can't do this. Otherwise, I wouldn't be fat still. Take the building blocks of a movie you dislike. How would you rearrange them into what you do like?
Ooh.
That's really good, because we all have something that sucked.
Yeah.
Let's talk Avatar that got M. Night shit upon.
We don't speak of that movie.
Yeah. Big pile of dung.
I feel like there's a lot.
So what would you do to make it better? I would just get rid of it. I would follow the stories. I would,
The
Yeah,
biggest thing
there's-
was it tried to compress a full entire one-season show into 2 hours.
So
Well,
you would.
that's one thing of many issues it had, mind you, but
Anyway, so for this, I think this is good, because you can utilize what makes a movie or a story bad. And I'm just going to continue on the Avatar train. In the movie, the animations were slow, clunky, and not like the story was designed. So for me, if I was to rewrite that, I would increase the speed and the fluidity of the combat. So I can totally see using that as a tool for my storytelling.
or I can spin this in a different direction, say the Aragon movie.
Yes, that was a great series and books. The movie was much to be desired, but in and of its own self wasn't a bad movie.
Well, yes, it was, but
no,
but
it wasn't. It was a good movie.
No, it's terrible.
It was good. Did you read Aragon book first?
Yes.
That's why.
No.
I came in the other direction, so it wasn't nearly as bad.
Okay, let me put it this
You
way.
seen it?
I have seen the movie, but
What'd
it's
you
been a
think?
long time, so I don't recall much
Oh,
from it
okay.
anymore.
All right, the big plot twist early on was, oh, this stone's a dragon egg. But the way the characters early on were acting as if it was a stone, even dialogue-wise. I'm like, but they knew it was a dragon
Even
egg the
though
whole
they
time.
knew it,
Then
yeah.
why did they call it a stone?
I got you.
I can go on, but you get the point. That's
Yeah.
just one small... Yeah.
I got you. So, do you agree with this this exercise here?
Yes.
I think it could work.
Take
for
the
sure.
building blocks of movies and that you dislike and rearrange them into something you do like.
Yeah.
What can make this work?
I guess
Some
I'm
some
next.
require way more work. Yeah, go ahead and take 22. We'll have Ian get the last one.
Identify with your situation characters. Don't write cool. What would make you act that way? Interesting.
So this goes back to having characters show not tell, or show not tell. My character's just cool. Well, what is he doing to make him cool?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he likes to stand up in the corner with his leg put up against the wall with a giant reed sticking out of his mouth with his hat pulled down. Kind of
There's a
very-
giant party going on, and
Yeah.
he is not actively
Right,
participating.
that's what makes him cool. This very much
he
to
doesn't
me is
follow
a,
the crowd.
is a show don't tell sort of mentality,
Yeah.
right? Do you guys got any other examples or?
But yeah, I definitely agree. Don't tell people that this guy is cool. Make them believe it.
Mhm.
I think we had a player tip on that once,
Yep.
actually,
Yeah.
way back in the good old days.
Makes sense.
Who's got the last one? Austin?
Ian does.
Putting it on paper only allows you to start fixing it. If a perfect idea stays in your head, you'll never share it with anyone.
Yes.
Doesn't work.
I recently went through the RPG workshop group kind of class in July, and one of the things that really did push is write. It doesn't have to be in any controlled format. It can just be spew diarrhea of the mouth. Put it on page, because if it stays up here, you're liable to forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Or you'll never share that with anybody. But as soon as it's on paper, you can always go back and reference it.
I think it was Neil Gaiman who said something along the lines of like, so some author who was asking about what is a good tip to be a writer, and Neil Gaiman of all people replied back, during your first draft, write down everything that happens, and then write your second draft, connecting all of them together, and then show it to people so it seems like it knows what you're doing.
There you go.
Different approaches, of course, but...
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any points on this?
No, that's good.
Carbergan, I wear shades indoors and at night.
That's fair.
That's really funny.
That's a good one. No,
All right. I'm glad we actually. My plan was to not run later than 8 o'clock for this long topic.
I'm actually amazed we got through as fast as we did, considering how long we took on the first one.
Yeah. Well, I realized immediately that we spent too much time on that. So.
Yeah.
All right. That'll do it for our main topic. Pixar's rules for storytelling. This is only 22 samples. There is an entire book of ideas that I think a game master and a player can get a whole lot of use out of. So you can find a link to that at critacademy.com/post/episode 183. Before we move on to our Unearthed tips and tricks, we have another gift to give away. Compliments of Jeff Stevens.
A masked menace terrifies a region, raiding villages to fund her devious plans. Unknowingly, the adventurers stumble into her most recent evil scheme, the kidnapping of a famous performer known as Devon Artis. Their mission is to deliver a ransom and collect Devon, though, as in most cases, not all goes as planned.
Yep. If you guys haven't picked up any of Jeff's stuff, man, the guy, his writing team and himself are fantastic. You need to swoop by and check this stuff out.
It's good stuff.
Who is our winner today?
Our winner today is R.S. Lape, 1992.
Yay! Congratulations! All that jazz.
Or R. Slape, I don't know.
I don't know. Who knows? People come with some weird emails.
Yeah.
It's probably like his first initial and his last name, maybe.
Maybe.
Congratulations, R. Slape 1992. If you enjoy the product, please leave Jeff Stevens a review. Every review helps other people find the product and lets everyone know what you thought of his writing, and hopefully making him even more popular and badass than he already is. If you didn't win, have no fear. Head on over to critacademy.com/Jeff Stevens. Get Villains and Layers 3 and Encounters on the Savage Seas 3 free. Compliments of Jeff Stevens.
Woohoo.
Moving on to our Unearthed tips and tricks. It's my favorite segment. It's your favorite segment. It's everybody's favorite segment, I think.
Probably.
It's a good one.
It's a good one.
It's a good one.
Full of creative content that we bring with you, for you to bring with you on your next adventure. Our first UTT is our character concept. Which one of you wrote this?
Don't
Me.
think it was me.
Would you like to tell us about the
No.
character concept?
It was totally me that wrote this. Today's character concept, the accidental hero.
I love it.
You are the kind of person that is hailed by all as a great hero across the land, and people of all walks of life speak of your great deeds. People remember when you saved a king from an invisible assassin. You are well regarded for finding the lost Staff of Valor, which was believed to be destroyed. You are praised for even slaying the red dragon that harried the lands. What you don't tell people is when you were target shooting at the range, you missed the target, and it happened to strike the invisible assassin trying to kill the king. You also don't mention that you happened to trip and face plants onto the brick in the wall that happened to trigger the hidden passage that opened up, revealing the staff for where it was. And you most definitely do not mention that the dragon choked to death on your horse when they ate it.
That's awesome.
People, you assume you were mighty from all this, but you're too much of a coward to admit what really happened, especially since you always somehow makes you fail upwards.
That is fantastic.
I love the term failing upwards.
I failed
Really
in the right way.
It really sells it.
Oh, I love it.
That's awesome.
This very much reminded me of, was King inspiration for this at all?
No.
Okay, because in if you haven't seen One Punch Man,
It definitely reminds me
That's
of
King.
that,
the
yeah.
most legendary hero, the
It's like some
top.
fraud.
Yeah, he's a fraud. He just happens to be in the right place when the real hero is kicking ass.
What a good time.
And then everybody shows up, sees King next to the monster's corpse. This guy killed that monster! And he's like too afraid to admit,
He's good at video games, though.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, the main inspiration was this when the Warhammer parody Brava Alpha Boost.
Oh, that's right. Did you show us that?
I linked it to you guys.
Oh, I did watch that then.
Released their parody video for Caiaphas King. He's a who's a hero character in the franchise. Mm-hmm. And the entire video's like, Caiaphas King is awesome! He did a tactical withdrawal, the orcs followed him, where he lured them into a canyon, and then he fired into the weak spot on the wall, causing a cave and killing the orc horde! Yes, I fought hard, people, by himself. Oh my gosh, all I did was run away like a coward, and then just randomly fired at the guy orcs chasing me! I didn't even know there's a weak spot in the wall!
Oh, this really fits well to me with like the lucky feat, the lucky feature that halflings have. I know
Yes.
Carpageddon's talking about that. You can really build a great concept around this. I feel like it would be really fun to play a monk that's like this who hurts people on accident. You know what I mean? It would be really great. I like this concept, the accidental hero.
I think part of it, though, is how you portray your actions, or what you say in hindsight, or maybe a little bit like working with the DM on that one,
Yeah.
but still.
That'd be a lot of fun because the DM can definitely help make it fail. Would it fail upward?
Fail upward.
Fail upward. I love it. That'll do it for our character concept, the accidental hero. That's a really good one.
If you don't remember anything else from this podcast, always fail upward.
Oh, I didn't. There's no flavor for the monster in here. I think
No.
it got shared, but I don't think it got copied in. That's okay. Our monster variant of the podcast is the Prowling King, or TPK for short. This comes from our Crit Nation community Facebook group,
Hi.
posted by Charles Coons. I love this. He posted a picture of basically a tiger that looks like it had sex with a centaur.
Hang on.
You right?
I found
Okay.
it. I found it.
Okay.
I typed it out, but you guys didn't say anything one way or another for it, so I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
with
If
it.
if it's bad, I'll tell you. I'd be like, no, that sucks. Which isn't usually how it is because it's less work I gotta do. So can you tell us a little bit about this Goro-looking mother effer?
There are many creatures in the world that are horrors, not just to the common man, but to the adventurers as well. Sometimes even more heinous creatures can be produced when magic is involved, or when two different species produce an offspring. One of these came to be when a weird tiger and a centaur mixed, producing the monstrosity that stalks the woods, that those who live to tell the tale refer to as the Prowling King,
I love it.
also known as TPK.
That is
I love it. So,
so unideal.
right? Or Zeus was involved.
Or Zeus was involved. There's
The
half of Greek mythology right there.
the origin, right? The origin stat block you're going to use is the Chimera. You're going to lose the flying, the fire breath, and the horns. The new features you're going to give it is keen smell, which gives it advantage on wisdom perception checks that rely on smell. And you're going to give him pounce. Now, it's worth noting this guy has 4 arms and 4 legs, right? So he runs on all 4s, and he's got 4 extras. So he's got 8 limbs, like a spider.
Like a spider.
So we're going to give him the pounce so that when the Prowling King moves at least 15 feet forward and hits a creature with its claw attack in the same turn, it must succeed a DC 15 saving throw or fall prone. So knocking shit to the ground, right?
Already on it. Cool.
You're going to give him a really cool feature called Sentinel. So
course.
when he hits a creature with an opportunity attack, the creature's speed becomes 0 for the rest of the rest of the turn. And the big change is you're going to give him claws. You're going to edit his claws to include a grapple that requires a DC check of 15 on a larger or smaller. The king doesn't. King cannot use this when it has 4 other creatures grappled. So, basically, this monstrosity can hold 3 people at once and still beat their face in, which is fascinating. So, in my mind, I'm envisioning charging on all 4s, smashing into somebody, and then knocking them to the ground, and then grappling them, and then running to another person, grappling them, and holding all of them pinned to the ground so he has advantage on all of his attacks.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
That thing being nasty.
I was going to say, this thing's a nightmare.
Yeah, the picture that they shared was just so inspiring. I wanted to give it a whole bunch of other things, but I decided that's probably too much.
Probably make it a little too strong. It's like, maybe not.
But I'm a big fan of grappling, and once you pin somebody down to the ground, and they have disadvantage on their attacks, he can easily hold 3 players or NPCs or characters or whatever to the ground and take much lower damage.
I really don't think a lot of people appreciate grappling until they're on the receiving end of it.
Yep.
I actually just got an amazing email. I'll read it after the show because I think you guys will like it. It was from a listener, and it's all about grappling. And I got like, when I read it. I
Grappling's
think
just fun.
yes, and it's so funny because I used when 5e, even now, people say, "Oh, grappling is stupid. It only makes your movement 0." I was like, dude, when somebody can't move and they can't stand up, they're at your mercy because being prone is such a punishing condition.
Immediate range, at least.
Yeah, it's a defensive
And it's
skill.
also a really fun way to stop flyers from flying away with you.
Oh yeah, this little bastard again grappled a
time in a
flyer
row.
in the air, and they just both fell out of the sky right to the ground.
I was like, I really don't want to be dropped, so I'll just drop myself.
It
Before you
worked.
get higher.
It worked. You guys really that was a fun fight. At least it was for me.
I got bodied. Are you kidding me? Like, I was
You
getting
seem to be the
blasted.
frontline fighter, though. I mean, the other paladin
to
kind
be.
of. I mean, you got 2 paladins who have 0 ranged abilities.
Yeah, it's
The
pretty
other paladin
rough.
got knocked unconscious.
Oh, he did get his.
Oh yeah, he got killed by 4 imps.
He had a little imp like celebrating on his chest, like.
Yeah, I had to
I
throw a
thought that was
javelin at
great.
it while I was
And then
grappling.
you had
with the
Merle
big
off
beast.
in this corner doing his own thing.
Blasting some shit. All right, that'll do it for our monster variant, the Prowling King. Austin,
You
would
see what
you?
I'm complaining about in the chat.
He's like, I got knocked out by an imp. It was so funny because they popped out of stealth. They were invisible.
Yeah.
And so when he killed 3 of them, the one went invisible, and he just kind of forgot about it, so it ambushed him. Do you want to tell us about our? Do you want the encounter or you want the weapon?
I love weapons, but I'll do the encounter. It's
Okay.
fine.
Why don't you tell us about the encounter of the podcast?
So the encounter today is the Master's Amulet, which can always be fun. Because if you've played any RPG ever, our amulets tend to have magic powers strapped to them.
Love it.
The characters are hired by Shamil Stumbleduck.
I love Dude, I suck at name random generators, man. I love it.
It looks like a
Dumbleduck.
female lawful good gnome mage. Her shield guardian seems to have started malfunctioning, a result of damage during an attack on her tower. The attack came from a group of elite drow. While she was able to fend off the assault, a drow mage escaped. She needs to get the magical amulet that she uses to control the construct repaired. Unfortunately, she is missing 3 key spell components, one of which, the amulet, was stolen in the attack. The characters must track and hunt down the drow mage and retrieve the damaged amulet. The second item the characters need is a, hemispherical piece of clear crystal, and finally a matching hemispherical piece of gum Arabic?
Yes. Yeah, that's a thing in the book. I pulled that right from the book. So.
Okay. A character who succeeds on a DC 21 Intelligence Arcana check, or if they know the spell Autoluke's Resilient Sphere, identifies these materials as key components for the particular spell. One designed to imprison creatures, a character who succeeds on a DC 19 Wisdom Survival check recalls trekking through a cavern at the base of a waterfall and seeing clear crystal stalactites. Oh my goodness, I'm having a trouble time today.
Story of my life. It's okay. You're doing good. Keep it up.
A character who succeeds on a DC 19 Wisdom Nature check recalls that Arabic gum is a favored treat of tree ants. Likely they can locate a tree ant and ask for some of the hardened sap-like material. Lastly, or maybe finally, the characters will have to get each material cut into 2 hemispherical shapes. If a character has proficiency with a set of artisan tools, such as carpenter tools or similar, they can craft and shape the material themselves with a successful DC 16 check. Likewise, if they have access to a fabricate spell or similar magical effect, they can also create it. If not, they need to seek out a smithy or similar NPC to have the work done for a fee of 250 gold pieces, taking a 10-day.
Yep.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like the I just like the entire setting of it, honestly. It's the characters always like to be hired by somebody because that means that they get paid for it. And they immediately know that there's some form of reward at the end, right?
Right.
And
What about the scavenging hunt? It's a scavenge hunt, basically.
yeah, kind of like a somewhat like a fetch quest, but at least you get to like go out and actually like they aren't like super hard and they're not super intrusive, honestly. So I'm not really worried about that.
Right.
And I do kind of like how it kind of sets you off into like these different like settings that you kind of need to go through.
And that was kind of what I was going for. What did you think, Ian?
Overall, I like it. The only thing I didn't care for, though, in this tip was it mentioned the fabricate spell.
Okay.
I mentioned that just because in 5th edition, depending on what's made, mind you, but in the end, every item made from fabricate eventually disappears. Now, depending on how rare the material is, determines how long it will exist for. But it's worth pointing out in earlier editions that limitation was not there.
I didn't know that limitation was there.
Now, alternatively, you could say that you could give them the 2, because it says you need the part so the smithy can take care of it. Now, if someone uses a fabricate spell in place of it, as long as they still have the 2 components, she can assumingly take care of it later.
Right.
And I
That would
think
be
that
thought.
still works.
I think
in this case.
I would allow that.
Wait, I'm sorry, I mixed up with another spell.
Okay.
Oh, well, then never mind. Just kidding.
So, Seth, erase what I just said.
Please do.
Haha.
My goal in this is one of the longer encounters I wrote because I wanted it to tackle all 3 pillars of play.
Okay.
Exploration by finding the crystal, the clear crystals. The role play aspect by looking out and speaking to and coming to an agreement with a treant, and of course attacking and fighting a drow mage.
Yeah.
I had never wrote anything that included all 3 in one little section.
It definitely works.
And
There's
I really
something
wanted
for
to go
everyone
for
to
that
like.
whole scavenger hunt feel. So,
Yeah.
Yep, I was thinking creation.
okay. All right, that'll do for our encounter of the podcast, the Master's Amulet.
Pretty good.
That whole idea came right from I took the flavor right from the Shield Guardian. Talks about like a controlling thing. I'm like, I bet I can do something with that.
enough.
Monsters are a great source for inspiration for hooks. Ian, would you like to tell us about our magic item?
Our magic item today is Arrow of the Monk. It's honestly, an arrow. It's an uncommon.
Not a sign like for a bow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Monastery monks created the Arrow of the Monk to repel intruders from their home. They imbued them with their own key energy. These sleek arrows have a small wooden fist carved into their ends that stores their energy, releasing its power on impact. Talk about I cast fist. Or in this case, I shoot fist.
Yeah, this is literally I shoot fist.
It's a green arrow attack, man.
Oh my god.
Make a ranged weapon attack against the target. On the hit, the target takes 1d10 force damage. Hit or miss, the arrow explodes. The target and each creature within 5 feet must succeed on a con save or take 2d6 force damage and be knocked back 10 feet.
It's basically a boxing glove on the end of an
Yeah,
arrow.
it's literally just the boxing glove on the end of an arrow that explodes.
I was watching a scene from the old Smallville, and he meets Green Arrow, and he shoots him with this guy with an arrow, and it sends out a powerful electrical shockwave that knocks him back. And he's like, "What was that? What were you expecting? A boxing glove on the end of an arrow?" And I'm like, I want to make that.
It's pretty good. I like it.
Oh, good stuff, good stuff. I think this is probably the first arrow we've made. I'm starting
At
to
least
work.
since I've been here.
Yeah, I'm more or less trying to come up with more consumable items aside from just like the potions and stuff. And ammunition, even if you don't track normal ammunition, tracking special ammunition is not as difficult.
No.
Yeah.
And especially as a player, collects them and saves them for that one moment where it's a perfect tool.
Right.
So
Pretty good.
that'll do it for our magic item, the Arrow of the Monk. Our Dungeon Master tip is loot freely, from James Wyatt. Loot freely. For instance, you don't have to be running a game set in the world of Eberron to find something worth using in Eberron Rising of the Last War setting book.
It's true.
Yeah.
Maybe the idea of characters with dragon marks tied to a mysterious prophecy fits in with the ideas you have for your own campaign.
Yes, please.
Letting your characters take dragon mark feats and then pitting them against agents of the Chamber of the Lords of Dust makes everyone at the table happy.
Yep.
I agree with this. I mean, it'd be cool. You guys are these prophesized heroes, and you realize that you have these like marks that are just on like your arms and stuff. You're like, I don't know what this is, and you go up to some mage. He's like, I have no idea what the hell that is. You're infected with something. I don't know.
Go see a doctor.
Yeah, go see a plague doctor.
And going off the tips that they put in the Eberron source book, actually, A, there's multiple planes, so stuff moves around between the said planes, so stuff from one can show up in another. So,
You just see a person in favor with like a pot of coffee, and they're just like, "Oh, fuck this place."
I don't know how we managed to miss this, but Carmageddon says that arrow really packs a punch.
Of course it does.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about this? I mean, it makes sense.
Yep.
It does. With all like the plane shifting and literal time travel, all the characters can do. How is this not out of the realm of speculation? Let's be honest.
I agree.
Like, kind of in that same vein, I've lost count how many times I have people saying, that stuff does not exist in this fantasy world. I'm like, really? Because we got magic and dragons and even like aliens from a different plane that suck your brain out. And that's the thing that bugs you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
people are like that with Dark Vision.
my thing is like, you could totally make like a character concept out of this. Maybe you have like some time traveling rogue, or like plane shifting rogue,
There's
where like he
a-
goes out and makes deals in like different planes of existence. He's like, here, I'll trade you this magical sword for a pot of coffee. He's like, oh yeah, dude.
There's a background, I think, in Xanathars that fits that, like the Wayward Traveler, or no, it's in the Skag. It's in the Sword Coast Adventures Guide. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
The Far Traveler, I think, is what it's called.
I know I've read it.
But it basically it opens up your story for that exact sort of character concept. I know because my buddy Troy always takes it to explain why his weird ass characters are in campaign settings.
If it works. I like it.
That'll do it for our Dungeon Master tip of the podcast.
Loot freely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Beat me to it. Our player tip of the podcast is don't be a dick. And you can avoid dickitude by mastering that martial training with that Uber sneak attack.
I love
Now,
the word
I
Uber.
did change this a little bit because I think it could have been 2 player tips.
And I told you, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So do you want to take this? I know I normally do that.
All right. Martial training, Uber sneak attack.
Uber sneak attack.
Without question, one of the defining traits of the rogue is sneak attack.
Yeah.
Can concur.
It's potent on its own, which is awesome, but
Yeah.
there's plenty of ways to get more mileage out of it. A great way to do that is combining it with other effects that stack with it. A couple
Rogues are
exam-
stacked.
Yep. A couple examples. The effects of the cantrips, Green Flame Blade or Booming Blade, both of which use a regular weapon attack as its trigger, which also happens to be one of the triggers needed for a sneak attack.
Yes, it's actually pretty awesome, especially if you consider that rogues never get multi-attack,
Yep.
so they're not
Yeah.
being punished by using a cantrip.
And keep in mind, these two being cantrips, they level up with your character.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what your spellcasting ability is,
Pretty
which
good.
is pretty well. That's not true, is it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because they use your weapon attack, not a spell attack.
Yeah, I mean, it messes a little bit with Green Flame Blade because it
For
goes off of
damage.
yeah, but yeah.
So, but not every rogue has access to spells.
Oh, there's a wizard around that.
Oh yeah, like what?
Well, for one thing, you could just play as the arcane trickster archetype, which is kind of a cheat right there because it was an
Yeah.
archetype. But
Yeah.
you can also choose the high elf race, which gets cantrips just for being a high elf. Or you can also take the magic initiate
elves.
feat, which gives you cantrips.
Yes.
Yeah. Magic Initiate's really good.
And also, you can increase the odds even more by, remember, sneak attacks can only be used once per turn. But there's also more than one turn in a round, because it's not just your turn.
You
That's-
can, yeah. That's actually a big point because you can put yourself in a situation where you are surrounded by more enemies, and if you can work with your group to make it in a situation where the enemies are going to trigger your op attacks.
Yes,
Uh,
that's right. Backstab and op attack.
Yes, I think the easiest way is if you can convince a battle master to take the is it Commander Strike,
Sounds about right.
I think
where
so.
they can give up their attack to give it to the rogue, and no amount of weapon damage that a like sword and board style fighter is going to do is going to out damage what a rogue can do.
Especially when it has Booming Blade.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that gives you great maneuverability, and you can hit multiple targets. Green Flame Blade, I think you can hit multiple
Yep,
targets.
It's all things like adjacent to it.
One target, I believe.
Is it just one? Maybe it's one.
Based
yeah.
on like your charisma score, your spellcasting modifier, or whatever.
It starts off as your spellcasting modifier, but then it increases in dice as you level up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's also the Booming Blade. Once you hit, it does damage if they move only, I think.
Yes, but when you level up, you add dice both to the initial attack and when they move.
which is beautiful.
Good old booming blade.
So imagine when you crit on that sucker.
Well, and that's the other
sneak
thing.
attack.
That's a good point because Booming Blade, if they move, they take an attack. But if you engage an enemy by themselves and then use your your cunning action to disengage, you leave them by themselves. So either they got to make ranged attacks now, or they got to trigger that effect. So very cool.
I like it.
Good stuff. Sorry, we did most of the talking. Did you have any thoughts on that?
I was just thinking what could universe would be like. Wow, imagine if this rogue was a paladin, and now you can add smites to your sneak attack.
Yeah.
There's
that's an option.
there's other options. That's what I
I
said.
didn't think about
it was,
that.
It was brought up.
Yeah, he actually sent me a big thing, but I broke it into several. So you'll probably see this similar discussion come up more.
I was just thinking like, a rogue that smites demons.
With sneak
That's
attack.
weird.
Yeah, but
I
it
like
works.
it.
It'll work. We'll
I
talk
was
about
by
that.
the Holy Order. What part of Holy Order goes into the shadows? This one. Stabs him real quick.
Knife to the face in the name of my god.
I was always sad that the paladins couldn't smite with ranged attacks.
It makes sense. What
I would
do you
love
mean?
to be able to throw daggers at people, hit them in the eye, and
It'd be
explosion of
so
holy
good,
light.
though.
come out
But
of
here's
it.
the thing, though. Hexblades can do that. Hexblades can do that.
Yeah, because they
Yeah.
get a similar thing that's the smite, right?
Yep, and you can use it with your packed weapon, and when you choose the right invocation, your packed weapon can be a bow.
Love
yeah,
it.
improved pack weapon.
I'm
I think,
gonna have
right?
to look into that.
Is
Yeah.
it
Send me a
improved pack
message.
weapon?
I think that could be a good player tip. I'm gonna look into that.
Yep.
Yeah.
We can't give away all of our
Stuff
in one of them.
immediately.
right,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
gotta-
yeah.
gotta- All right, I think that'll do it for our player tip of the podcast.
Don't be a dick.
And you can avoid dickitude by mastering that martial training of that uber sneak attack. Well, bam!
By not being a dick.
That'll do it for our show today. Thank you all for joining us. Please, hopefully you'll join us next episode where we'll be discussing Armaments of Legacy.
Does it mean I'm getting like cool pauldrons?
No.
Damn it.
No, I don't know. I was a big fan of legacy weapons in 3.5, which basically gave quests and stories to unlock the power within certain weapons and all this stuff.
Yeah, I realize that. That's not really in 5e, is it?
No, so, and actually it's funny, I just had to cross this off of my list of things to write because somebody just did it good. Because it was one of the things I wanted to convert.
Hey, if it
but,
works.
all right, so we'll be talking about that. I'm really excited.
Woo! If you have any feedback on our tips and tricks or topics you would like us to discuss, please send them to us. You can email them to us at critacademy@gmail.com or find us at Twitter and Facebook at Crit Academy.
Holy Order, Holey. Holy, get it? Because you're stabbing
'cause
them.
you're
Holy, I
stabbing
get
them
it.
over and
That's
over again.
funny.
That's pretty
That's a
good.
good one.
Make someone holy by perforating your organs.
I like it. I'm about it.
Alrighty. Yeah. We hope you've enjoyed your experience here at Crit Academy, and if you did, you can help others find the show by leaving a, hopefully, 5-star review on iTunes, or just send us a message telling us how much you enjoyed the show. And also, be sure to give us a like and a share,
Woo!
especially a share.
Make sure to subscribe to our show at critacademy.com. Follow us on YouTube at youtube.com/c/critacademy. Please subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know when we go live, all that jazz. Also, make sure to subscribe at our website where we send blog posts, our show notes, and some other shit anytime we do some cool stuff. And you also get my favorite resources as for signing up. You can also be entered to win cool prizes each and every single week when you do sign up, so do that. Make sure to check out our fellowship members there as well. If you have not checked out Interparty Conflict, Gabe and Jeff put together an absolutely stellar, high-quality show. I wish I could get my stuff as to the quality that they have, but I am not an audio technician, and no matter how many times I set this shit up, it just doesn't work right. So, there's that. But their content's amazing. Their discussions are awesome. Please check them out. Also, head on over to, if you have Twitter, check out The Kind GM. The guy does great work. His blogs are full of awesome.
Woo!
That'll do it for our show today. Please, if you're interested, please consider checking out our Kickstarter at critacademy.com. We're really excited. At the very least, by checking it out, you'll be able to get a couple memorable monsters for you to bring with you to your in your stories and campaigns.
And if that doesn't work out for you, go to Facebook and just type in on the search bar memorable monsters. You'll probably find it there.
Yep, there we have a group for it, and there's a link there to get that stuff too. So, all right. I am your host, Justin.
I'm your co-host, Austin.
And I'm your co-host, Dan. Thanks for listening.
Keep your blade sharp and spells prepared, heroes.
Wave at the camera. Bye-bye.
All right, I'm going to run the thing here, but we're going to come back because I got a story I want to tell everyone.
It's true.
Crit Academy after.
Something like that. It only takes
Trello. I don't know.
checking my emails.
Actually,
I guess they're all your emails, too. I
I'm
guess.
just glossing that
Well, I was
out.
looking for Gabe mostly, but
Yeah. Oh, shit.
didn't reply
Where
back
is
to.
the... Yeah, let's go back to the screen. Which screen is it? There it is.
There it is.
All right. So we're back. So anybody that knows, we mentioned grappling earlier, right?
Yep.
'Cause we love it.
And we got an email from a gentleman or woman, I guess. I don't know. Hang on a second. I'm going through my emails right now because I was super excited about this. And anytime I get from Sean Cook, he says, "Hello, Crit Academy. For the last few years, I've grown to love playing tabletop strategy games and felt RPGs were kinda lackluster. I've played various editions of D&D, and maybe it's the groups I'm playing with, but it seemed tough to get into. Recently, with the COVID pandemic, a few longtime friends wanted to try Dungeons & Dragons out, so I said I'd play them with them, as these are friends, and I always, nerded out with them via, Magic the Gathering, World of Warcraft, etc. for the last 20 years. Since we started our game, I've also started listening to your podcast. Thank you, Sean.
Yay.
From the beginning, I'm about 30 episodes in, and oddly enough, I've fallen in love with the entire grappler concept. I've used it in 2 different games already to some extent, and can't get the Hulk Hogan theme song out of my head. I miss that. While playing with these friends definitely gave me a desire to play D&D a bit more. Listening to your show gave me the vigor to enjoy and delve deeper into it. Many thanks, Sean. #Grappler for life. P.S.
P.S.
Any thoughts on getting Real American out of my head, or should I just let it linger there? You certainly should let it linger there.
No, you just get like a mind flayer and just be like, all right, now I want to make a deal with you. He's like, what is it? I need this out of my head. He's like, well, that is what I specialize in, but here's the issue. It's not really surgical precision we kind of operate with around here, but I mean, how bad can it really be? Look, it's been in my head for months. I need it out. I don't care if you take more with you by accident. Just get it out of me.
The reason I wanted
That
to
could be
bring
a
this
really
up,
good way to incorporate like a mind flayer to help like PTSD like patients and stuff. That is such a weird
write
concept.
that down.
Oh
write
my
that
god.
down. That sounds awesome. That like a doctor mind flayer? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Who helps?
People with like
He helps adventurers whose entire parties were wiped out and are now traumatized from it.
that'd be so good.
Oh, this will be really weird as tentacles wrap around your skull. And then you hear a little bit of, now you're going to feel a little bit of a pinch.
And the guy comes out, he's like, what happened like the past 5 years? He's like, it worked.
Dude, there's an episode of Supernatural that did something. I think there was aliens that were helping, fat people like myself. They attached the tentacles and were eating their fat. Yeah, so I love it.
They're monsters.
Flyer doctor.
From South America, but yeah.
Anyways, so the reason I wanted to share that is because I love getting emails like that. If there's something we've done on the show that has inspired you, that has really made your games better, please send us an email telling us about it, because I want to start sharing some of these stories because some of them get really interesting. And the fact that this guy Sean loves grappling just made him like way cooler in my eyes, because I love grappling, so now we can have good time together. Good time!
Good time.
Good time. All right, now we're going to go ahead and let you guys go.